my friends, how are you? I hope everybody's fine. My name is Daniel Villarino. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In the previous video we were working in a series of two. The first one was to make the blanks and fill them with epoxy putty to have a place where to make some threads. And this is going to be a threaded box. And in that video, in the previous one, I explained that the type of woods that are used normally for threading boxes are kind of expensive and difficult to find sometimes, and to practice is not easy because one is sort of afraid of messing up a nice wood. So looking for alternatives, we came up with the possibility of threading the box using epoxy putty. And what I did is, this is a piece of maple, very simple wood, and in this piece of maple I make several inclusions. Some of them, like this one and also this one, are simply for decoration. Okay, once the box is finished, we are going to look at those figures and they will look nice, hopefully. And some of them, like these two here, they are to have a place where to make the threads, okay? Because the wood itself, the maple, is not that good for threading. I can show you here. I have this lead that I began doing, and the thread looks okay until it doesn't. And you can see there that it crumbled in several places. So the wood is very important. Hopefully, because the epoxy is a uniform material and is dense and is hard, it's going to provide a nice media for threading. So let's see how that works. Okay. Now, what are the tools that we are going to need to make these threads? Well, the first one is the chasers, or the thread chasers, and you can see here one of them. This is a 10 TPI. These tools originally, most of them come from England. You can see there how they match. This is for making the male thread, and this one is for making the female thread. And 10 TPIs means that it will have 10 threads per inch of length of the screw. Okay, so this one is 10, and I have this one which is 16. I see if against my t-shirt you can see there the sizes of the threads, and I have another one, this one, that is 20. Okay, so this one, the one in 20, will have double the amount of threads than this one that has 10. And of course, each of these has the matching for the female thread. Okay, we also are going to need a tool that is known as the Rebate Tool, but basically is sort of like a scraper that is going to allow us to get inside the lid of the box, in this case where the female thread is going to be located, and make a rebate or make a recess, you know, at the end of where the thread is going to be. And also for the male thread on the exterior, we are going to use a parting tool to make that same recess. And the reason for that recess is very important, because when we are threading, at certain moment we are going to have generated already some threads, and because of the movement of the lathe, the tool is going to get trapped by those threads and is going to begin to move at the speed that those threads are pulling it. But at a certain point we had to remove the contact between the scraper and the wood, and this rebate and this recess that we are going to make are going to give us the space where to do that. If we don't have that space and the tool keeps going, and eventually stops against the shoulder, you know, what is going to happen is that the tool is going to stop, but the lathe is still running. So we are going to strip the threads that we just did. So those small recesses are very important, you know, to avoid just that. There is another tool that is called the arm rest, and basically many turners use it under the arm this way. They support this on the tool rest, and then they support the chaser here, and they do the whole movement with the body, okay? And that way they can pull the chaser against oneself. I still don't have too much practice with this type of chasing, so I'm going to do it a different way, just using the tool rest. But if you want, I'm going to put in the description a couple of great videos where they show this technique, okay? Now, one important thing as well is to have the tool rest very smooth and without any nicks or dents, okay? When we work on the lathe, the surface of the tool rest is not as hard as many of the tools that we use, and sometimes when we have a catch or when we are parting a piece and the tool is doing a lot of pressure against the tool rest, it will make these small dents. And those small dents are terrible for thread chasing because the tool gets stuck, it doesn't slide well. So I'm going to use a file, okay, to smooth the surface of the tool rest, and then I'm going to use sandpaper also to get it even smoother, and probably I will even put some paraffin wax on the top so the tools are going to slide correctly, okay? Many turners recommend that for the chasers is good to round these and these edges, which are the ones that where the tool is supported, because that will avoid having chances for the tool getting stuck. And I have done that with one of my chasers. This is the one that is rounded. You can see there and there that I have worked a little bit these sides here so that the tool is going to slide there. Okay. And you can do that with a band sander or even in the grinding wheels. Okay. So regarding the process, I want to have the male thread in the base of the box, and the reason is when you see inside, because of the male thread is on the outside, the inside is going to be all straight to the bottom, and I believe it's going to look better, and that's going to be the base, which is the first thing that you see. Yeah, you will see the inside of the lid as well, but it's not as visible. So I'm going to make the male thread on the base, and I'm going to make the female thread on the lid. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is to mount the lid on the chuck. I'm going to work the exterior a little bit, I'm going to work the interior, and then I'm going to make the interior threads for the female thread. After that, I'm going to remove these. Many turners, and myself included, prefer then to work on the male thread. I'm going to mount this on the chuck and do the dimension of those threads to match the female that we already have. For many of us, it's much easier to work on the exterior and then to try to do the matching using the male thread rather than the female thread. Okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to work a little bit the exterior, I'm going to do the male thread, I'm going to match it with the female. Once that's ready, I'm going to remove this, I'm going to remount the female, I'm going to screw the male there, and then I can work all the exterior and the base of the male. Okay, then I'm going to remove everything. I'm going to put a sacrificial block on in the chuck. I will make a male thread there that is going to match this female lead, I'm going to screw that there and use it as a chuck to work the exterior of the lead. So that will be the process. It's a lot of stuff. I'm going to try to explain it as well as possible. As I said, there are a couple of excellent videos. One is by Putty. He makes several explanations about how to do the threading. And then there is another one in the channel of Robert Sorby, actually the company that makes these thread chasers, and they have an excellent video as well. They have slight differences. For example, in the case of Putty, he preferred to make a small recess in the male thread that will fit in the inside of the female thread. So when he's doing the male thread and he sees these sort of telltale lines that the chaser is doing in that small recess, in that small spigot, then he knows that he is pretty close to the measure that he needs for that to fit correctly. In the case of the video Sorby, they use a different technique. They wax the interior of the female thread, they make a spigot on where the male thread is going to be, and they give the spigot a slightly conical shape, and then they put the female thread there, and because of the wax it's going to generate a ring, and that ring is going to give an indication of where they have to make the spigot, the size of the spigot for the threading. So I know it's a lot of information. I hope the video is not too long, but that's today's project. I hope you enjoy it. Let's get to work. Let's protect our respiratory system, our ears and our face. I hold in the chuck the blank for the lead, where the female thread will be done. I will use a Forstner bit to facilitate the lead hollowing. I use a small round carbide cutter to deepen and shape the internal side of the lead. Luckily, the epoxy reached the bottom of the perforation and there were no bubbles trapped, so we have in the internal part of the lead a nice round blue decoration. The epoxy zone is much wider than what I need to make the female thread, but I would like to make first a test run, so I will leave it at that thickness for the moment. In my experience with these epoxy putties, the carbide cutters work them better than the traditional gouges. the external lead diameter until it will become visible the small blue epoxy band. Although this is a test run, it is good to get used that before doing a female thread, we have to finish properly the internal side of the lead. We have to make a relief cut so that the thread chaser will escape when it is chasing the deepest of the threads. I have this tool to make the rabbet, but I think it is a bit wide. If I use this parting tool, I will have some more space for the threads, and since my lathe can rotate in reverse, I will do it that way since it will be more comfortable for me. Here you can see, marked by the yellow arrows, the area where we will be chasing the threads, and marked by the red arrows, the area for the relief cut, that will allow the tool to escape before it reaches the bottom of the lead. It is important to make sure that the part where the threads will be chased is perfectly cylindrical. To initiate the thread chasing, we round or chamfer the border. To sharpen the thread chaser, you only do it on the top face, never between the teeth, because that will modify the pitch. Here I am honing it using a diamond card. The surface of the tool rest has to be perfectly smooth. I remove the small nicks and dents the tool sometimes leave there with a flat file. After that, I sand it with grits 220 and 320. And finally, I use some paraffin wax as a lubricant. I also apply a bit of paraffin wax to the bottom part of the thread chaser. It is convenient to round and smooth the edges of the bottom part of the chaser so that the movement will be as fluid as possible. I adjust the tool rest height so that the top part of the thread chaser is located approximately at the center of rotation. Before engaging the tool, I practice the cuts to get the rhythm. The first contact will be at an angle, and approximately in the middle tooth of the chaser. Each subsequent cut will move the angle a little, and the threads will get formed a bit more, until finally I will have the teeth parallel to the rotation axis and to the cylindrical surface where the threads are being done. Here I show the zone of the chaser where the cuts will be initiated. The first tooth will be used later, when the threads are more established, but not in these first cuts. The chasing speed should be between 150 and 500 RPMs. Too fast will be difficult to control, and too slow can establish what is known as a drunken thread. I will work around 290 RPMs. I make the first contact in the chamfer, using the middle part of the chaser to establish the first threads. As the first threads are formed, they will be pulling the chaser and giving us a feeling for the correct chasing speed. We have to maintain a positive pressure against the material, but to be gentle and not to try to force it, avoiding trying to control the chaser speed. Here you can see that with each successive cut I straighten more and more the tool angle, approaching a parallel position with the late rotation axis. With the threads more established, now I finally begin the cuts using the first tooth of the chaser that will deepen the threads and establish the chasing speed. The other teeth will just follow the first. Observe how I remove the tool before hitting the bottom of the lid. The recess is fundamental to achieve this. Here I show the process turning it by hand. The first tooth fits in the first thread and pulls the cutter. With each new rotation, a new tooth will fit in the thread, helping in maintaining the chasing speed. But most of the cutting work is being done by the first tooth. Reaching the bottom, I remove the chaser. The relief cut is relatively large, and while one does not have much experience, it is convenient it be that way. Once you gain more experience, you can experiment in making the relief cut smaller so it will not be so noticeable. As you can see, the threads look pretty nice and even in the epoxy. I am very satisfied with the result. Oh well, those were practice cuts. I will take now the thickness of the epoxy to the required width and repeat the process. I just hope that my final cuts will look as nice as these practice ones. Now I will take care that the interior side of the lid is well shaped, sanded and finished before chasing the threads. Deepening a little more, I realized that I had a bit more surface of epoxy towards the bottom. So this time I will play it safe and use the relief tool to give me a bit more space in the relief cut for this final try. Once again, I verified that the wall to chase is perfectly cylindrical. I chamfer or round a bit the initial part. I verify that the height of the thread chaser is equal to that of the lathe rotation axis. I make an imaginary run before finally engaging the thread chaser. Once again, the first cuts are initiated in the middle part of the chaser, and little by little I straighten it. And when it is pretty parallel to the lathe rotation axis, then I begin engaging the cuts with the first tooth. Being the female thread the first I did, rarely will be necessary to adjust it, but if that were the case, then I will increase the speed and with a flat tool remove the tops of the threads a bit and then go back to chasing speed and deepen the threads. In general, I prefer to do this in the male threads, as we will see later. Fortunately, the process went pretty well in this final run, but if that would not have been the case, then I would have had the opportunity to remove a bit of material and begin from the start. With the female thread ready, I removed the lid from the chuck and I put there the blank to make the base and the male threads. It is always very satisfying to see how the details of the epoxy are revealed when we remove the excess. The process will be as follows. I will deepen the internal part of the base. I will shape it, sand it and finish it. From there I will do the male threads, adjusting them with the help of the female thread. And once both threads match perfectly, I will remount the lid in the chuck and use the female threads as a mandrel to finish the exterior part of the box base. I am telling you this because for some reason the video camera did not record any of this. My apologies. But so you can have all the process in one video, I decided to do another small ebony box so you can see in the practice all the steps that were missing because of the camera mishap. This caliper has a measure of the internal diameter of the female threads plus 2 times the depth of the threads. With it I am sizing a tenon to make the male threads. Up to these points I have recording of this process for the epoxy box that we will retake later. Here I already have the female threads done for the small box in striped ebony. It is not as good for threading as the gaboon ebony, but for the demonstration you should do okay. I already mounted the piece for the male threads and I am making a slightly conical tenon. The blue and grey arrow shows an opaque border. Once the lead begins to fit, you will see a bright varnish shown by the yellow arrow. This will give us an indication of up to where we have to make the cylinder to make the male threads. If we are going to err, it is better to do it on the larger diameter, since we can always reduce the diameter of the male threads. I check with the caliper that the tenon is perfectly cylindrical. With the parting tool I will make a small recess, the relief cut, to give the chaser a chance to escape the cut before it impacts the tenon shoulder. The relief cut depth should be enough if it is just barely deeper than the depth of a teeth in the thread chaser. I round a bit the tenon end. With a chasing speed of 280 RPMs, once again the first strikes are done with the middle zone of the chaser, falling into a rhythm with a counterclockwise movement. Slowly I keep straightening the direction of the thread chaser until finally it will be perpendicular to the rotation axis. Then I will initiate the cuts using the first tooth of the chaser. With each pass the thread goes a bit further. The male thread's diameter is still too large. With a carbide cutter and turning at high speed, I will cut the tops of the threads and then I will use the thread chaser once again to deepen them. If we try to deepen them without first cutting the tops, we will blunt the chaser and also will risk damaging the threads. Finally got them to thread, but we can see that the first threads are a tad small, so I will eliminate them. Now it seems to fit pretty well. But we can see that the grain is not matching. To solve this, we can remove a bit from the rim of the female threads, or we could also remove a bit of the male thread's shoulder. I will do the first, but before I am going to hollow what will be the base of the box. I remove a hair more from the male threads and I smear it with a bit of wax to lubricate the threads. I have now the female threads mounted in the chuck, and I will thread the box bottom to see how much I had to adjust it to match the grain. With a marker I highlight the points I want to match. It is not too much, so I will simply use sandpaper to remove just a tiny bit of material from the rim of the female threads. If it had been more, then I would have used the parting tool. Here we have a comparison between the before and the after the sanding. We can see that we have made progress, but it will require a tad more. Almost there. For the final adjustment, I will use a finer sandpaper. Returning to our epoxy box, using the female threads as a mandrel, we sand and finish the exterior of the box base. theoretically, once finished the base, I can remove the lid from the chuck, put in the chuck a sacrificial piece of wood, where I will thread some male threads to use as a mandrel to hold the lid and finish it that way. The problem was that I could not make good threads in several other pieces of wood that I had. So I ended up making a jump chuck to fit the base and use its male threads as a mandrel to finish the exterior of the box lid. Okay, my friends, first let me apologize because it was not until I was editing this second video of this series of two for the box in maple with the blue epoxy putty decorations and threads that I realized that I was missing a part of the recording, particularly the part for the male threads and the matching of the grain between the male and the female parts of the box. So I decided to go ahead and do that demonstration by doing another box in stripe ebony. And here you can see the finished box in maple with the blue decorations. On the top, in the hole that I did and I filled with the blue epoxy, I had enough material to do that small decoration like a knob, and you can see the blue dot on the bottom there, and the two bands, this one sort of hiding the joint between the lid and the base. The threads work really well, and you can see there they were very well formed. It was very nice doing the threading on this material. It is a very uniform and dense material. It doesn't crumble or get damaged by the chaser, so it worked really well. And inside you can see also the other blue dots of decoration matching the ones on the exterior. So let me show you here. Perhaps you can see the matching of the grain is kind of difficult in this light wood, the maple, but perhaps you can see it better on the ebony. This is a longer thread. I just had a very small piece of ebony, so I had to do a small box. It's like a pill box, but you can see the threads are very nice, and these are 16 threads per inch. The ones in the other box are 20 threads per inch, but they work very well. And you can see also here that perhaps on this stripe of the ebony, the clear one, that it was matched the lid to the base, and I did that by removing some material from the rim of the lid, which I could also have done by removing some material from the shoulder on the male threads, but it's a little more complicated. So at the end, two boxes for the price of one. Okay, now let me show you. This is a sticker from the Facebook group Amigos por el Torno de Madera. Emiliano sent me the logo. I was able to put it in round labels, and it's over there on my door. Thank you, Emiliano. And also Julian from Spain sent me this beautiful sticker, Nogal 77, that means walnut 77. Thank you, Julian. I will put it also over there on my door. I am very pleased to announce that on November 18 and November 19 of this year, it will take place in Mendoza, Argentina, the second encounter of woodturners, the second symposium, I guess. of wood turners. It's going to be a really nice occasion to get together with colleagues in the field, and I was honored to be invited to do a couple of demonstrations on both days together with the colleagues of the group Arte Entorno from Colombia and many other demonstrators. It's going to be a very nice event, so if you are around the area, please go over there. It's going to be something that you are going to enjoy. Now, if you allow me, let me show you some pictures that were sent by the subscribers of the channel. Alberto from Ituzaingó, province of Buenos Aires, Argentina, made these beautiful pens in several woods, including Argentinian lignum vitae, red quebracho, oak and guayubira. Really nice, Alberto. Fernando from Setúbal, Portugal, made these natural edge twin balls in horn oak and an apple and another ball also in horn oak. Beautiful pieces, Fernando. Tomás from Bahía Blanca, province of Buenos Aires, Argentina, made this cap in rabo wood. Very nice job, Tomás. And here you can see some pictures of the maple box with epoxy threads and the small stripe ebony box. Okay, I hope you enjoy these pictures. I also hope that you enjoy the video. If that's the case, please don't forget to mark the like button down there and also to make comments. And if you haven't subscribed yet to my channel, please do so. That way, every time I upload a new video, you are going to receive a notification. And it will be until the next one. Cheers!